Well, welcome to the Rant podcast, everybody. This is Keith Green coming to you with, as I said before, my guest, Luke Frontczak. I posted that on Facebook earlier. He's my good friend. I had mentioned him on the very first podcast that I was looking to bring him and Brent Henry and David Johnson and other people on. Since I have some followers who are not friends of mine and don't know who he is somebody that I've known for over 20 years, been a friend of mine since 9 or 10 years old. How old are you?
28.
He's 28, so that means, we've known each other for about 21, 22 years. He's married, has a window washing company called Brite Window Washing, so if you need any quotes or anything like that, give him a call. And we're here. We're going to have fun. That's what we're going to do. We're going to have a whole bunch of fun. We're just going to shoot the shit. This is called the Rant podcast for a reason, because we just talked a little bit ago about a disclaimer of all the things that can, will, and most likely will be said that may not necessarily either be true or may even be offensive at times. I reserve the right to use any language I deem fit. But we're just going to talk, and the first thing we're going to get into are the top 5 in movies. I had done a podcast where I listed over 10 or 11 genres of movies, and I gave my top 5 in each. And he's got some of his, and we're going to talk about those and get into that.
Yeah, so I'm happy to be here on Keith's podcast. This is exciting, and thanks for the introduction. Thanks for plugging my company.
Yeah. Well, I mean, most people who come on a podcast, they end up
have something to plug.
They have something to plug. They've got a Twitter, they got a Facebook, they got a website, they got
right.
blah, 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 blah. And so I do know you don't necessarily have like a Twitter page for Brite.
I got nothing.
Yeah, you got really. He's got cards and word of mouth.
Yep.
And he bought a company that had already a set number of accounts, so it wasn't really, didn't need a whole lot of advertising.
Right.
So we're here to talk about movies. So, why don't we just start off with what I had before? What I started off with was I started off with my best, then I went to my worst.
Okay.
The category that I never go to unless I've just got like that weird hankering for whatever that movie is.
Sure.
So we'll start with drama. Drama is one of my favorite because it has my very favorite movie of all time, which was Dead Poets Society. And I listed for my top 5, just as a reminder, Dead Poets Society, A Few Good Men, Four Brothers, Any Given Sunday, and The Hurt Locker. You want to listen to what I have to say about those, go view podcast number 2, 002. That will have all of my comments on those. What is it that you had for drama?
So on drama and thriller, right?
Yeah, drama, thriller, yeah.
I'm a big fan of that too. And First of all, I should say that I am not mainstream, and I guess you aren't really either. You're not very mainstream in your preferences, but I'm not very mainstream in mine. So sometimes they're non-heard of, or they're just maybe independent or lesser known. But so first of all, on yours, I liked the ones you listed a lot. Actually, I picked Hurt Locker for one of mine.
Okay.
And you're gonna kill me, but I've never seen Dead Poets Society.
So, I'm not going to say kill you, but I might string you up in a room all by yourself and beat you with a whip. But
so I'll have to go back and watch that because it's very well, a lot of rave from the critics on that one. So I will watch that. But my number 1 would be No Country for Old Men, which is a Coen Brothers film. And some of these, I'm noticing a trend that I definitely have a preference for the darker humor and the darker movies. And so I don't know where that comes from. Maybe I just appreciate the fact that some people recognize that life isn't just a box of chocolates.
Yeah.
So, number 1
Forrest Gump reference for everybody.
No Country for Old Men. is Tommy Lee Jones, Josh Brolin, who's the other guy? Javier Bardem, and it's about this contract killer hunting down this cowboy who finds a bag of money. So it's pretty intense, a lot of twists at every corner. Mm-hmm. It's a Coen's brother, classic.
What other movies that Coen's brothers have done?
Coen's brothers have done Fargo.
Oh, for the love of God.
Burn After Reading, The Big Lebowski.
Okay.
Those are that kind of their movie.
If anyone has not seen Fargo, it's all good until one scene.
Right.
It gets real fucked real quick.
Right. Right.
It goes from a dark comedy to like really dark in really short periods of time.
Yeah, that one was a tough one for me to get through. Number 2, you're going to agree with me on this one. Heat. Such a good movie. It's like 3 hours and 20 minutes long, though, but it's still amazing. It's one of the best movies of all time. It's Al Pacino and Robert De Niro, which is one of the few times they're together.
Yep.
Val Kilmer. Who else is in it? I think Natalie Portman's in it.
Yep. Ashley Judd.
Ashley Judd
is in that.
It's got Hank Azaria has a small role.
Hank Azaria.
Who's the guy that was in Saving Private Ryan that's kind of a shorter, stocky guy?
Damn,
Tom Sizemore.
Tom Sizemore, who's
anyway, that
lost his career since a long time ago.
Yeah. So that one's great, and it's Al Pacino's a cop, and
and Danny Trujillo, which is in like every film that's got a bad guy Hispanic dude.
Yep, him.
He's kind of like the Samuel L. Jackson of the Hispanics.
Have you ever seen a movie ever? Yeah, he's the Hispanic guy.
Yeah, you ever seen a movie with there's a black role?
Yeah.
Just to quote Ted, he's that guy.
Sam Jackson.
So
that one's great. You should look it up. It's this crime saga with Pacino and De Niro facing off.
If there's somebody out there who has not seen Heat, you need to go and find that. I don't care what Rotten Tomatoes says or any critic. That movie, that was as a child,
right?
When my mom had that out, that was intimidating because it was a 2 discs. It was a 2 videotape set,
right?
Because back in the day, like you had the tapes, but you also had videotape, VHS, and they came in like a big thick package. And it would have 2 of them. Right. So you had to like take the one out, put the new one in.
To start where you left.
It was like Heat, Braveheart, Titanic. You were like concerned about these particular films because you knew you were going to be there forever.
Yep.
But the nice thing would be is that you have a little intermission where you could take a potty break, get some snacks, get some drinks,
popcorn,
come back for the later half of the film.
Yeah. I have Hurt Locker at 3, which you covered that one well.
Yeah.
One of the
Jeremy Renner. Yeah.
One of the best war movies I've ever seen.
Okay.
And then In Bruges. That's that one's it's kind of a dark one, but it's like 2 hitmen go on vacation in Bruges, Belgium, and Colin Farrell is the lead with Brendan Gleeson, I think, and it's hilarious / kind of intense. So check that one out. And the same writers. Well, there's 2 brothers who wrote that, and then The Guard, which is another Brendan Gleeson. He's an Irish cop and a guard, that's what they call him over there. Mm-hmm. And he's got Don Cheadle in it as the FBI agent coming into Ireland to help him unearth some drug ring. It's amazing. It's just really witty, funny writing. I also wrote The Prestige just because I thought of it while I was writing this, and it's an amazing movie with Christian Bale and Hugh Jackman, and they're magicians, and it's a Nolan film.
Oh, yeah.
Christopher Nolan
yeah.
Yeah, anyway.
Christopher Nolan, the director that brought us Batman Begins, The Dark Knight Rises, for someone who actually likes to study evil, I found out.
Yeah.
Like Christopher Nolan, with the Batman films, wanted to produce movies that emulated evil in different categories.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's why everyone got so fucked in the head when it came to those 3 films.
Right, especially the first one. Or the second one, I guess.
And, when they first came out with the first Batman films, they were, like, supposed to be more comic booky. And then these ones got to be, like, really real.
Right.
Real quick.
It went from Michael Keaton's I'm Batman.
It went from Bane being a styrofoam puff doll.
I'm Batman.
Yeah, to being like some dude that knows every martial arts on the planet, and Tom Hardy.
Right.
But that makes sense because I remember seeing the previews for Prestige when it was Hugh Jackman and that one, that one actually seemed a little, thrillerish.
It was very thriller.
That's not like the other magician film they have that like Now You See Me.
Yeah, I never saw that. Was it good?
Yeah, well, I've never seen those two. I want to see both of them, but those seem more of like kind of like more of a good espionage kind of action-packed kind of film. That one seems more thrillerish, like when you turn around the corner, there's going to be another dark hallway, and it's you're taking like a mental note of whether you really want to walk down that hallway or you want to turn around and just go home.
Keeps you guessing and wondering the whole time, and at the very last scene of the movie, drops the bomb on you. It's like that's how they do it.
Of course. Those are good films.
Thanks, Nolan.
Yeah, thanks, Nolan. Nolan and the Coen brothers. Was the Coen brothers responsible for what was that horrible Brad Pitt movie back? No, Inglourious Bastards was Quentin Tarantino. Another fucked in the head guy. I don't care what any of you say. Every film by Quentin Tarantino has got some sick, twisted, fucked up scenarios in it.
It's like
everyone.
Yeah.
It's like I thought The Hateful Eight was going to be okay. Then Kurt Russell spit out so much food coloring blood. I lost my lunch, and it was the most boring thing. And then Samuel Jackson talking. Yeah, anyway, we're not going to go into what Samuel Jackson wanted out of a dude. But anyway, so that's drama and that's thriller. Those are your 5.
Yep.
So my worst category when it comes to movies, and like I shared, Brent and David, horror was one of their favorite things. Or, they really like horror films.
Yep.
I don't think you're a huge horror film fan.
I literally wrote down horror. No, I don't do horror.
Okay. See, now he did it the right way. I actually gave you guys selections.
You've seen some. I literally have not seen any.
I saw horror films like through the poke hole eyes of a blanket. Like, I literally would stand around the corner while David and Glenn would be watching, like, Freddy, and I'd be like, with my head around the corner going, did anyone die yet? And all of a sudden you hear the eerie music. Yep, someone's about to die. Right. And I would turn my head right back around the hallway corner. And then as I got older, and the horror films progressed from the 80s to comical. Really, I mean, after I got older and I watched a 80s horror film, it was comical.
Right.
They got really real.
Right.
Really bloody.
Right.
Ridiculous on how the body count that it was like how long do you stupid people not realize that you're not going to win?
I just don't like being scared, like that quick monster comes at the screen really fast type shit. Because I can handle like some of these are pretty dark. Like No Country for Old Men has got some dark scenes in it. Same with In Bruges and The Guard and all this, but it's totally different than a monster coming at the screen for me. Like I can't handle that. Like, I'd say the closest thing to a horror movie I've seen would be Silence of the Lambs, and that's considered a thriller.
Silence of the Lambs is considered a thriller. It's considered a cult classic.
Yeah.
I mean, if anything, let me put it in perspective what Silence of the Lambs did to people, all right? Anthony Hopkins was married for years, and then he did Silence of the Lambs. She served him divorce papers based on that character. She went, I can't look at you the same anymore. Because I'm going to think you're going to eat me in the middle of the night. Because that's what he was. He was a freaking cannibal. That's what Silence of the Lambs did to people.
Right.
But yeah, he had a little statue on his shelf from winning an Oscar, but he lost his marriage. Jesus.
Welcome to Hollywood relationships.
Yeah, Hollywood relationships. All right, so we're just going to skip over horror and get out of horror. So then we're going to go to action.
All right.
We're going to talk about action. I'll cover mine again. So I had the original Bad Boys movie as my number 1. My number 2 was Olympus Has Fallen. Number 3 was John Wick. Number 4 was Cobra. And number 5, Lethal Weapon. And really all the Lethal Weapon movies, because Lethal Weapon was good and they are all just fine after that. But so go ahead and let's see, what did you have for your action?
I agree with you. Those were all great action flicks. Actually, I don't think I've seen Cobra or John Wick. But you were saying you were raving about John Wick, so I'll have to try that one.
Yeah.
Okay, I wrote literally Bourne Identity, number 1,
Oh,
Bourne
man.
Supremacy, number 2, Bourne Ultimatum, number 3, because I just fell in love with those 3, especially those 3. The 4th one's great with Jeremy Renner, and the 5th one was good too, but the first 3 are like one movie. It's like a 6-hour saga of Bourne, and that is all amazing. Obviously, it brought like action to a new level, and the shaky cam kind of stuff, and it was just completely new and different. I see you, like, you're writing down the classics, like, kind of more the classic, like you even said on the last time that they got the corny one-liners kind of going, like old Stallone movies.
Yeah, like, the corny one-liners, like, I'll be back, and,
exactly.
or it's like...
I guess you just couldn't handle it, that kind of shit.
Like Jean-Claude Van Damme knocking Raul Julia and Street Fighter into a TV set, and then he goes, "You're off air." Some weird, corny shit that, like, no one ever thinks of when they're in the middle of an actual fight.
No, and that's the thing is, the people who love the action don't really care about that shit.
No, yeah.
I do have a little bit of a pet peeve, and I'm a little bit drawn to a good story, good dialogue, I guess.
Yeah.
Storyline really doesn't matter that much. It's more dialogue.
Yeah.
Okay, so then number 4, I put Casino Royale, which is the
Bond film, yeah.
Right, the first one with Daniel Craig. And,
okay, so you like Daniel Craig's version of Bond?
Or
at least just for that one?
I'm not well versed enough in watching old Bond stuff to know. Like, I think he was better than Pierce Brosnan or whatever. Fuck his name.
Goldeneye, yeah. Pierce Brosnan, yeah, shaken, not stood.
Yeah, he was a little bit too pretty. But I liked Casino Royale because I don't even remember how it went, but I remember the girl was really good, and their like interaction together were really good.
Okay. Well, like, most Bond films, the guy and the girl's interaction is just fine.
All right. Well, the banter where they like read each other when they first meet on the train.
Yeah.
Her name's Vesper Lynn or something, and they're sitting there like reading each other, what they came from, what kind of troubled youth they had to make them get into this line of work.
Yeah.
And that was pretty good. Obviously, they're all hot. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Which one, the guy and the girl, or just the girl?
I'm just going to stick with girl.
Okay, yeah.
And then my number 5 is Hot Fuzz, which kind of goes along with your like Bad Boys and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Just because Simon
Pegg.
The dynamic duo of Simon Pegg and Nick Frost, which are awesome.
Yeah. Hot Fuzz, just so you know, Luke was the one who told me about Hot Fuzz. I checked that movie out, and I laughed my ass off the whole way through. It's supposed to be an action film, and I laughed about the whole entire thing. I almost was, it was an action comedy, is what that was.
Right.
See, the thing about it was, like, I had Cobra in there because it had a storyline, but it was also that corny. Like, for me, an action film, it's got to be, it's over the top. It's about being over the top. Like, John Wick, it's really good. It's got a good storyline. It's got a good whole basis start. But the actuality of a man running up into, like, 3 different bars and shooting everybody that pulls a gun on him and winning in the end blows my mind.
Yeah.
It's like Gerard Butler going through Olympus Has Fallen. Everyone lost except for him.
Right.
He was the one dude that won.
Right.
Like, these guys came in with the best way to destroy a White House.
It's like Die Hard. And why Die Hard has always been a favorite is because it's one guy in a building against a bunch of terrorists. One guy.
He's the underdog. You want him to win. He's the underdog with a track record of being able to, overthrow a country.
Right.
But it's still one man versus a whole country.
It's like, you told me about this, I think. I don't even know if I've seen the movie. I don't think I have. It's Kingsman. The Kingsman.
Yeah. Yep. Kingsman. The secret.
Over the top, right?
Secret Service. Yeah. Or
that huge church shootout.
Yeah, the church shootout scene is very over the top. Very, very over the top. They have Leonard Skinner's Freebird playing in the background, and it's like a 14-minute song with a 14-minute just massacre scene.
Yeah.
At the same time, but it's hilarious. The massacre scene, it seems bloody and gutty and gory, but it's done so funny that you actually can last through it and not lose your stomach on it. All right, well, that's action. So we've covered 3. We got Noah for horror. We got good ones for drama. We got some decent ones for action. So I'm going to go. Did you do any stand-up?
I did.
Comedians? Okay, so go to stand-up comedians because that's, like I said, we're going way forward. Anyway.
So I picked number 1, Louis C.K. He is my all-time favorite stand-up. I just enjoy his perspective on things. Definitely observational comedy, along with just kind of shock value too.
Yeah. Yep.
He's really dirty, but he also can do it. He says some tasteful things too. I really like his perspective on it's kind of like a man's life. You're watching his life just kind of fall apart, and he's explaining it, and that's basically his way of doing stand-up. And he's been super successful, has his own TV show, and writes and directs and stars in that. I think he has 5 comedy specials. So actually, I'm going to see him live next month in Seattle.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay.
So that's number 1. Number 2 is Brian Regan. I think you had him.
I have him as number 5. Yeah.
Which Brian. You covered him very well. He's super clean, yet is super funny. He's amazing. Yep. The fact that he can stay that clean. Bill Burr. I think you put him.
I have him as number 1.
Number 1. Bill Burr is amazing because he finds stuff to talk about and has a perspective on things that very few people actually think of, that you've actually thought of, but it's true. Anytime he's on Conan's cracking up. He's losing his shit.
Yeah.
Because Bill Burr is so funny, and anything I've seen.
It's funny, in particular with Bill Burr specifically. He. This whole election just messed with everyone and their mother's brother, with everything. And they brought Bill Burr on twice within a month on Conan.
Right.
To talk about the election. And literally, this guy didn't vote for Donald Trump. He didn't vote for Hillary. And everyone you can hear him on Joe Rogan's The End of the World podcast, which was election night's podcast he did. He doesn't support Donald Trump and all the bullshit that he says, but he doesn't support all the PC culture and the liberal way of thinking of everything as well.
Right.
He's got, it's literally what most Americans really are just themselves. Mm-hmm. And they don't want to be pushed around and bullshit. And the way he says it, and I love how he says it, he goes, that's that shit. That's that shit that person's saying right there. Right where there's, he'll say, that's that shit they're talking right there. And he makes people a little uncomfortable because they expect him, if he says, I didn't vote for Donald Trump, they expect him to be far left and to be like, oh yeah, women's, and he's just fuck, you gotta go to work tomorrow, what did Hillary ever really do for you? Right. Did she call you the next day? In the last 8 years, did Obama call you?
Exactly. He said that, and I agree with him. He's like, I'm one of those people that doesn't think it even matters. I don't think it matters who's president. I don't think it really changes anything.
And he's always got, this is one thing that I love about improv comedians and even with Bill Burr is he literally just has something in the chamber.
Right.
Every time a conversation is started, he's got something to say, even if it's a little off the cuff or whatever. He's never without ammo.
Right.
And that's what I love about comedians is that they actually can just this is how they are.
It's the way they look at things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you had Bill Burr, Brian. Well, your first one is Louis C.K.
Yep.
You had 2 is Brian Regan.
Yep.
3 is Bill Burr. Who's number 4?
Well, I had to pick people, and I like a lot of comedians, but I put Dave Chappelle.
Okay.
Because, frankly, it's just because I just saw him do the opening monologue to Saturday Night Live, which he killed. Which
got a lot of rave review on that.
Yeah, his timing's amazing. Anytime you watch anything by him, he's got a really good perspective, and he's really hilarious too. Number 5, I put Nick Swardson.
Oh, okay. Yep. Nick Swardson.
Just because he's our generation comedian. And he just talks about partying and drinking too much and hangovers and
going to Taco Bell.
Going to Taco Bell and he's kind of more our generation humor and just says dude and sweet and has 4 vocabulary
mm-hmm. 2 people or at least one person. I had Jim Gaffigan on mine, which honestly, I thought Jim Gaffigan was going to show up on your list. He probably would be in your top 10.
Oh, yeah.
He'd probably be in your top 10. But the other one is Mitch Hedberg.
Oh, my God. I totally forgot about Mitch Hedberg and Stephen Wright.
I've not heard of Stephen Wright, but Mitch Hedberg.
He's the guy with, like, the real dead.
Mitch Hedberg is the one guy who most of these guys have life stories. That's why they're so funny. They over-exaggerate life stories, and they make things. Mitch Hedberg's the guy that's like, was like...
Rice is really good if you're hungry and you want 2,000 of something.
Yeah, or something like that. What happens if I get the jelly bean jar one? Gosh, it was like...
they always want you to guess how many jelly beans are in the jar. He goes...
How about you guess how many I want? A handful. You would be correct. Exactly. Or like, what's the irony of... what do you think of a forklift carrying a pallet of forks?
Right.
Something like...
It's like I threw a toothpick in the woods and said, "You're home." Or Stephen Wright's the guy who has the really, like, monotone. He's like, I once worked at a fire hydrant factory. You couldn't park anywhere near the place. Like, that's his kind of stuff. Like, the same kind of stuff. Mitch Hedberg is a little different.
Yeah.
But, oh my God, I totally forgot about them.
Yeah.
I would have put them on here if I would have remembered them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can't... There's so many comedians and there's so many things of...
you can go on and on. There's...
Oh, yeah.
Seinfeld, there's the two old school guys. What are their names? Who's the guy who...
You had Seinfeld.
Started on Saturday Night Live. Or not started, he was the hippy dippy weatherman. Who was that?
The hippy dippy weatherman.
George...
Lopez? It's okay.
No. I'm like losing my memory here. Do you not know him?
I don't know SNL that well, honestly.
Well, he didn't start there. He just had a bit.
SNL was not my favorite thing in the world.
Oh, well, if I think about it, I'll throw it out there. I'm like forgetting the biggest comedian of all time in America.
Okay, so let's go to comedy.
Okay.
Let's talk about comedy, because I know you got funny. You like comedy. I like comedy. I'll cover my 5 just one more time here. I had number 1 is Major Payne. That's Damon Wayans. The Wayans brothers in general are pretty darn funny, but Major Payne was my favorite. Number 2 was the very first Ghostbusters in the 80s, not this bullshit one that came out like 5 months ago. That was horrible. Number 3, The Whole 9 Yards. Number 4, Nothing to Lose. And number 5, Encino Man.
Got it. So, it was George Carlin. And then Richard Pryor was the other guy.
Oh, okay,
they were huge in the 70s. But anyway, as far as your list goes, I really like The Whole 9 Yards.
Yes.
Matthew Perry's amazing.
Matthew Perry is... yeah.
Like running into screen, or like...
Yeah, running into the door. And... It's ringing. There it is again.
It's like... He's punching him in the black guy's punching him in the gut. And he's like, I think I'm gonna go piss blood now.
He hits him in the gut. He's like, aren't you gonna scream? Would it help? No.
Yeah. So that one, Encino Man, I just saw again recently, which was hilarious.
Pauly Shore.
Yeah.
That was back in Pauly Shore's heyday.
Yeah, it was.
With, like, Son-in-Law. Yeah, Son-in-Law was great.
Wasn't there like one In the Army Now or something like that?
Yep, Jury Duty, In the Army Now. Shit, he fell off, man.
He did.
Major.
I don't know what happened.
He had a podcast for a short period of time, and then he just fell off again.
I think people got sick of the way he talked.
He got sick of the way he talked, I think.
Hey,
you try and talk. Yeah, I was going to say, you try talking that weird shit all day long.
Hey, buddy. All right, so what I wrote down was Step Brothers. First of all, I had a really hard time with this because I really like a lot of comedy, and it's hard for me to rank 5 that are the best because there's scenes out of so many movies.
I knew that comedy was going to be your big one when I brought you on here.
Like I just remember something like I should have at least a mention of Talladega Nights, like the scene when they're having dinner. The dinner scene.
My God,
so good, comedy gold. But here's another.
I'm not going to shit on anything that Luke's points are, but just so you know, he likes Will Ferrell. I think Will Ferrell is the worst actor ever. Anyway. So go ahead.
Well, that makes this easier. No. Step Brothers is really good. That's Will Ferrell, John C. Reilly. Just Will Ferrell being Will Ferrell.
Mm-hmm.
I just think he's ridiculous. Naked Gun. All 3 of them. That's
wow. Yep.
Leslie Nielsen?
Yeah, Leslie Nielsen. Yeah.
He's just like a comedy gold, and that's all puns.
We're not talking Leslie Jones.
No.
Leslie Nielsen.
Nielsen.
I don't know what the fuck is it. It starts with an N.
It's a woman's name. I just don't get it.
Yeah.
All right, so then I put number 3, Shaun of the Dead. Another
Simon Pegg,
Nick Frost.
Nick Frost, yep, that's the other
guy. It's a spoof on Dawn of the Dead, right?
Yep.
And now this is going to be the softer side of me, but Inside Out was an animated movie about like what goes on inside our heads.
Oh, yeah. All the emotions.
Yeah, there's 5 characters playing each emotion, and they have this little girl in the movie. And so you have
all her emotions.
Anger, fear, sadness, joy, and disgust.
Pixar.
Anger is played by Lewis Black. There's another great comedian.
Yes, Lewis Black. I'm going to talk about an anal atheist.
Fear is played by Bill Hader. Joy is played by Amy Poehler. Sadness is played by Phyllis, the lady from The Office.
Okay.
And then disgust is played by Mindy Kaling. And they just do a really good job. Actually, it's at the
virtually
end of that movie,
all SNL characters.
Yeah, really. And near the end of that, I actually teared up a little bit. It was so sweet.
Aww.
So it's comedy, but it's also got some.
Well,
real.
Here's something that I said. I said this a while ago, and I said this to quite a number of people recently. I like comedies like back in the 90s. You'd have the old comedy, the sitcoms, the situation comedies, where like Fresh Prince.
Right.
You'll have episodes where they're hilarious. Will Smith is hilarious. Carlton's hilarious. Their comments with the uncle, father, and the butler, and everybody's making just funny things. They're just naturally being funny.
Right.
But then you'd have the serious one. You'd have that serious one where like Carlton takes the drugs.
Right.
Or Will Smith got shot and he's in the hospital, or Will Smith's dad leaves him again. Right. Comes into his life for an episode and leaves by the end of the episode. And Will Smith's breaking down in tears.
Right.
Why don't they want me? I love that because even though it's funny, they're just being naturally who they are.
Right.
And it may be turned up to 10, just a little bit, but it's not comedy just for the sake of a punchline.
No.
It's comedy because it's actually funny and it actually works. Like, Home Improvement was another one with Tim Allen and Jonathan Davis.
Taylor Thomas.
Yeah, Jonathan Taylor Thomas. Those comedies back in the night, like nowadays, this is what I was seeing with Ghostbusters, the first one versus this new age one, is like they're just doing shit just for a punchline and just for a little bit of laughter, but it doesn't stand out as a film,
right? As
a decent film. It just is like, oh yeah, there's another comedy, and this new generation that's maybe never seen the '80s Ghostbuster now has a bad taste in their mouth on Ghostbusters.
Right.
When if you were to see Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, and Rick Moranis playing Ghostbusters, you're actually going to be like, oh my God, this is hilarious, and there's a story to it.
I'd watch an hour-and-a-half movie of Bill Murray painting a house.
Right. I mean, like him in Caddyshack was gold. Yeah. Was like pure gold.
He just ad-libbed that
stuff. I thought he was better than Chevy Chase. I don't really like Chevy Chase.
Sure.
I thought him fighting the gopher throughout the whole entire thing was great because he'd go back to his shop and you'd see him like with shovels and picks and wood and whatever, and he's like trying to build an IED for the fucking gopher.
Right.
So that's my whole thing about where were you? What was it? The Nice?
Oh no, Inside Out. It was just it's a kids movie, and I admitted I cried at a kids movie, but hey. Right. They know how to tug at the heartstrings.
With the comedy, having a little bit of heartstring is fine.
The girl runs away from home, and then she's figuring out, that she should go back, and it's like really touching because the parents are having trouble and whatever. Just hit home.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was trying to get at. Having some emotion in a comedy is not a bad thing.
It's almost like that's like the best kind because they cover the whole gamut.
Right.
Okay, and my last one is The Nice Guys, and that's just came out, and that's Russell Crowe. And who's the pretty boy that's acting nowadays? The blonde guy? Ryan Gosling.
Ryan Gosling?
Yeah. Well, they're just these two cops. Not cops. They're actually like...
Russell Crowe still relevant?
Yeah, well, this made him relevant.
Okay.
He wasn't for years, I don't think. Superman's dad, and that was it. But but they're like investigators. That's what they are. They're like for hire. What do they call an investigator for hire?
Private eyes.
Private eyes. and then they're caught up in this thing, and they just get the shit beat out of them, and they're shooting each other. It's hilarious. It's dark, but it's funny too, and that's exactly what I'm looking for in a comedy. I watched it with Steven, and we laughed so much. It surprised us how much we laughed. It could have been we were working off of each other, but I think we both liked it.
Yeah,
our wives didn't laugh.
You and Steven have a similar taste in comedy.
We must. So that was that.
All right, so now I just got to ask: were you able to come up with your own comic book and sci-fi, or would you have to actually put those two together?
I actually didn't do anything on comic book. Okay. I just wrote down.
See, I told you people, not everybody likes the comic book shit.
Nope.
Brent, not everybody likes that shit.
I think I watched the first Iron Man, with Back in Black, and it was good. I really like the first movie.
You like the music.
Yeah, that too. I like the first movie and series because it sets up the character, and then I lose interest after that. Like the first Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire, I liked it because it set it up for what it was. I watched, didn't really care about the other ones. Frankly, I haven't even seen the new Spider-Man.
Right.
Does that surprise you?
No.
Okay, good.
I didn't see it until this last year, 4 months ago. So
I have seen here.
That's not an offense to you, Brent. I'm not. We'll talk. He'll rip me a new one later.
He's not here to defend himself. But I did write down 2 sci-fi movies.
Okay.
I think they fall under sci-fi. One is Interstellar.
Yeah, that would. Yep.
Did you see that?
That's Matthew McConaughey, and
it's another Nolan movie.
Figures.
And it's intense, and it's good because Nolan always does this thing where he just screws with your head about time and space and Inception. Right. You're like a dream inside of a dream inside of. You're like, I can't.
We are in stage 9 of the dream.
Right. So that was super good because they're traveling all over different time, what would they call it? They're in different time zones almost, where if they travel somewhere and come back 10 minutes later, it could be 30 years later for the people back where they came back to. So it's intense. And then I wrote down the first Hunger Games movie. I haven't seen any of the other ones. Have you seen Hunger Games?
No. I'm really happy you did not put Twilight on this thing.
I haven't even seen.
If you would have put Twilight on there, I don't know if we could be friends anymore. I may have seen
one of Twilight movie, but the first Hunger Games movie, the second, all the other ones just looked stupid because the first one was awesome. It's a bunch of kids that get picked from their districts to come literally fight each other to the death.
Right.
And they get they shot up into this woods area, and they have to pick weapons. It's pretty dark, but it was awesome. So
yeah, literally they have to kill one another.
And I haven't seen the rest of them. So.
Yeah, and here's the thing. Anyone out there, you can see any film that you want. You can see any film you want. You can even see all the Twilight films. But if it becomes your favorite, turn in your guy card. Twilight should never become someone's favorite film.
Robert Pattinson doesn't even like Twilight.
Good. He should apologize every day that film still exists.
I think they powdered his face every day. I think that gets rid of your guy card right there.
Yeah, Robert, turn in your guy card. No wonder he was trying to get away from it all.
Right.
I know I had sci-fi. When I go into sci-fi, I there's something different about sci-fi for me that's just out of nowhere. You know what I mean? It's got to be. There's one of the reasons why I don't really. I like comic book movies. I'll just say this. I do like some comic book movies. I have a top 5 here. But and they get put into sci-fi. Technically, comic book movies are into sci-fi, but you could almost put them in their own genre because so many are coming out. And then you have the television shows on top of it.
Right.
And the thing for me is my number 1 pick is, I had to turn it into Star Wars. But number 2 is Constantine, which if you've never seen the movie Constantine, it would throw you off quite a bit because it's about demons and angels and going into the plane of hell and coming back into our world plane and
sounds interesting.
It is. It's another Keanu Reeves film. It came it's kind of how would I put it into perspective? He came out with The Matrix.
Yeah.
The Matrix films, right? Huge cult classic films. Sold millions of copies and highly regarded by so many people as great films because of the storyline, not just for the action, but because of the storylines.
Right.
And then he came out with Constantine, which didn't have him doing all the high energy fighting that he was in that one, but has another new storyline. Matt Damon did the Bourne series, right?
Right.
And then after he did all three of those Bourne films, what was the next one he came out with? The Green Zone.
Yeah.
And he wasn't doing all that high energy fighting and everything. Like, I think everyone thought the Green Zone was going to be
similar.
Like he's a military guy. He's a leader of a crew. He's going out there. He's going to go and attack, all this stuff. But he's doing what military guys do. They don't do all that. They are like constantly running around trying to make sure they don't get blown up in the process.
Yeah.
And it just turned more dramatic. Constantine had that change of pace where it's like Keanu Reeves is showing, I don't have to throw kicks and do all this high flying to make a movie that's impactful in the science fiction genre.
Sure.
Matt Damon was in the same one. Like, I can do an espionage film that doesn't have me beating the crap out of some people with a towel and a book.
Right.
Those are similar. They're very similar because they came out roughly around the same times.
Yeah.
That's great. So that's what we were getting into was the top fives of movies. We did that.
Yep.
And that was fun and exciting.
So now tell me a movie that you've seen recently that you would recommend.
A movie that I have seen recently.
Didn't make it on the lists.
It did not make it on the list. Let's see here. I have watched quite a number of films.
While you're thinking, I'm going to plug mine.
Sure.
So a friend of mine told me to watch 500 Days of Summer.
Okay.
Which is technically, I think, a rom-com, but it is so quirky. It's like Garden State in a way. It's Joseph Gordon-Levitt and what's her name? New Girl. You know who I'm talking about? The TV show New Girl.
I know the TV show. I've not seen
Zooey
it.
Deschanel.
Okay, her, yeah.
And he's a guy who thinks his life will suck until he finds the one.
Right.
And she's a girl who doesn't believe in true love. And in the end, it really twists your brain because she ends up getting married to the one, she thinks, and it's not him. But he thought she was the one the whole time. And then it turns around and he meets a new girl, and it's like, first of all, it's crushing your head because you think that he just got totally screwed over.
Right.
Because he believed in the one, the soulmate, and she didn't, and then she married someone who she realized was the one. It was really crazy, and then at the end it goes, well, but then he realized that none of that stuff really mattered, that there was no such thing as fate. There's just coincidence.
Okay.
That you run into people and you meet them and then you either get along or you don't. There's no such thing as fate. I was like, yes, for the writers. Thank you. They just made one of the best rom-coms I've ever seen. I didn't, I was with two girls when I watched it, just so everyone knows I didn't pick that by myself. But anyway, I thought it was pretty darn good.
I do. I hate the idea of soulmate.
Yeah.
That shit just is stupid.
Yeah.
Because you could say, like, right now, well, some people could say, well, isn't Grace your soulmate? You got married to her. You guys are doing great. You guys are like a two peas in a pod, blah, 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 blah. No, I literally just got to know her within the last 2.5 years.
Right.
And I've known her since I was 6 years old, since she was born. I've known her that long and only just got to know her recently.
Right.
And had I not moved out to Bellingham.
And you found out that you got along. A certain percentage of the time. I think that's all you can ask for in life, that you will get along with this person this percentage amount of the time, and, and your personalities get meshed this much, this percentage much.
Yep.
Not completely. There's no such thing as completely meshing personalities like a frickin' soulmate.
Yeah.
It has to do with learning. If you do get along generally and you like the person, then you learned each other and you learn to love each other.
Yeah. You know what the problem is with the whole idea of a soulmate or the whole idea of fate?
What?
The whole idea of fate is it takes responsibility for your actions, takes that, clumps up in a ball, and throws it out the fucking window.
Right, exactly.
Because here's the thing, kids, is you make decisions. I made a decision to move out to Bellingham.
Yep.
And no matter, some people out there who are part of our church could say a whole lot of weird shit about why I moved out to Bellingham. I made the decision before. I was asking and made the decision to move to Bellingham well before anyone was like, hey, let's help him move out to Bellingham or whatever. I made that decision. And even when I moved out here and made that decision, I was still procrastinating on whether I wanted to live my life as a bachelor.
Right.
And for a little while there, I was pretty convinced that there was no reason to ever get married.
Right.
And then I met Grace.
Yep.
And then we got along. I fell in love with her. I loved her. And I made a decision to marry her.
Right.
And I take responsibility for that, because then that means I can take the bull by the horns and go after it. When you start believing in shit like faith or that whole doctrine of the secret,
right.
It takes the whole perspective of, that your life is yours, and it just throws it out the window and says, well, there's something out there that is going to make sure you do it this way.
Right.
And you're going to, guess what, Keith? You are going to find grace. You're going to find grace at some point.
That just gets people to blame God for stuff.
Well, not even just blame God, just blame anything other than themselves.
Right.
Then you're blaming
the people who say that God put this person in my life.
Right.
Then they end up blaming God if it goes bad.
Yeah.
And it's all down to your actions and your decisions.
And it just rolls downhill. Once you start blaming that particular thing, then it's not your fault when something bad in your life. I mean, John Bones Jones, UFC fighter, he is in a world of hurt right now because, well, let's just put it this way. The guy's got a track record. He was caught smoking coke or sniffing coke. He did a hit and run down in Phoenix, and after every single time he does, and then he just got caught for having two things in his last test, which caused him to not be able to fight. Now he can't fight for like a year and a half or 2 years now. So, but every time he goes and does a press conference afterward, this is what he says: "I don't know why God put this in my path. I don't know why this happened to me." It's like,
are you kidding me?
You hit somebody and then ran.
Right.
That's not God putting that in your path. That's you being a dumbass.
Right. There's way more free
Because even if you hit the person and it was a legitimate accident, you had no pot, you had nothing in your car, which they found all sorts of shit in his car.
Right.
But if you had none of that in your car and you hit somebody, to run away is like, you can be, I'm going to say this right now, he may be the toughest man on the planet and he may be the hardest core guy out there as far as a fighter, but he is the biggest fucking coward for having run away from a hit and run from a woman that he hit and put in the hospital.
Right.
That is a coward. I don't care if you can beat every man in the world up.
Right.
That's a coward. And he's gonna blame it on God. You can say that he's just said, why did God put it at, but you're basically saying God put a woman in a car in front of me and I hit her, even though I've got pot here, I was smoking coke like 2 weeks before, and I have this whole, and then you know what he did? He came back, ran, got his money, and then left again.
Jesus.
That's what ends up happening when you believe in doctrines like this, like soulmates and fate and the secret.
Right.
Like, I mean, it basically, you want handouts. Right. Your checkbook starts bouncing. You start blaming God for that. You don't have food in your house. You start blaming God for that.
Right.
Next thing you know, you're sleeping in a sleeping bag underneath a fucking bridge, and you think that God is just testing you.
Right.
Yeah. Wake the fuck up.
I saw this like meme or something on Facebook that hit me pretty hard. It was like some guy who lost both his legs in like Afghanistan or Iraq.
Yeah.
Said, people come to me and say, how can you be so positive with no legs? And he responds by saying, how can you be so negative with 2 legs?
Right. Exactly.
Like, you can't, it's not based on what happens to you. It's based on your attitude.
Basically what we're saying is, to bring it back to movies, is don't believe everything you watch, for the love of God, and watch what they're teaching you. And I may, for some of you people out there that were part of our church, you may think, oh my God, there's a church guy going again. No, it's serious. People literally try to reenact shit that they see in movies.
Oh, yeah.
No church, no God, no nothing. They just go out there and they just start. This is why we have a dude shooting up a movie theater thinking that he's the Joker.
I think that this one pisses me off. And I think Friends, the show Friends, may have started it. Or a different show. I've noticed it in a couple other shows like Brooklyn Nine-Nine or The Office or Scrubs, where they say it's a big deal to say I love you to someone.
Right.
I think that's bullshit. I think that if you want to say you love someone, like I told Jennifer I loved her before we ever were involved. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's normal. I don't think you end up, like the culture's teaching, and I think Friends started it, you can sleep with someone for a while, and before you say I love you, that brings it to the next level. I'm like, really? That seems pretty back-ass words to me.
Oh, it is. I mean...
Why does I love you change anything in the relationship? It doesn't.
I know, yeah.
You obviously are falling for someone if you're with them, you like them, you love them. You have love for them.
Mm-hmm.
And then as time goes on, your love grows and it changes and you learn about them. But it's not, I don't think that that's the line from not committed to committed. And it really, I think it comes down to people are afraid of commitment.
Yeah, we're gonna move just off of movies, and we're gonna get right into something else. All right, back in here. Talking about movies and stuff. Got to do some editing. Anyway. Listen, there are going to be glitches. There are going to be things on here. We always have problems. Like I said before, I only have a set amount of time that I do this stuff, and I have to take it usually in one take. And I can do a little bit of editing, and I'm just learning, so we'll get to it. Luke just reminded me. You just reminded me that I didn't drop a movie, right?
Something that you've seen.
Something recently. I saw recently.
That was good.
That was good. I recently just saw Home Alone again.
First one?
The very first one with Macaulay Culkin, Joe Pesci.
I haven't seen that in forever.
Yeah, and I forgot how funny that movie was, and also how badass an 8-year-old could be. I mean, this kid put out a plan that would make most generals happy in a military setting. Like, the kid literally laid out a Crayola marker plan of how to handle the house.
I loved that as a kid. It was like the greatest daydream to think about being that kid and taking on two crooks and just destroying them with booby traps and stuff.
Right, exactly. And the second one, which a lot of people thought was just going to be a remake of the first one, and it kind of was and also wasn't. But in the first one, you had the strings with the paint cans coming down, and the one hits Marv, and he's like, "I'll get him for you, Marv," and he turns around, and the second paint can hits and goes flying. And then in the second one, they realize, oh my gosh, we're going upstairs. Remember the paint can? It's all of a sudden one guy's like, stop. Paint can comes. He's like, oh, Harry. You're like, I'll get him for you. Stop. Second paint can. And then they go running up again, and all of a sudden this big, huge beam of metal just comes flying down. Like he knew that there's a good possibility they would have remembered the last time they did this. Right. And so I'm going to have a backup plan, and it knocks both of them on their ass.
Classic.
That, and the reason why the second one made is because the pranks just went over the top. Now, did you know they made a third and a fourth?
I knew they made a third with a different kid, right?
Yeah, well, they made a third with a different kid, and they made a fourth with another different kid.
Really?
Yeah. Crazy. And they were horrible. It's
a great idea.
It's a great idea, but usually when you get to the third one, unless, your payoff doesn't go that well. Like, The Matrix worked for that.
Did you see the third Hangover? Was it any good?
No.
See, there you go.
I saw the second Hangover and went, oh, God.
First one was great.
First one was amazing. Second one was like, oh, really? And
then kind of redo it.
And then after the second one, if anyone went out and saw the third one, I feel bad for you.
Hopefully they didn't pay $20 for it.
So, like I said, we were going to go off topic of movies because we were getting into some other stuff about fate and soulmates and stuff, and realizing that you don't, which ties into when I do my book review. on extreme ownership, because this is where it really comes into focus for me. Because when you don't take responsibility for your actions and you let other things dictate your life, and you let movies and books and everything dictate how you live and not take ownership of it, it's absolutely horrible. You end up in a sleeping bag underneath a bridge.
Yeah, you gotta take responsibility. I was just talking to a barista today about hiring people, and she said that she always backs up her employees. That if someone complains, she's like, yeah, I mean, we're people, we make mistakes, yeah, we'll get you a free coffee, whatever. And I thought that was exactly like what they're talking about in that book. Because I always, when I was a server, I always hated when a manager would take the customer side in front of me. Now, the customer's always right, and you have to get them what they need, but you always back up your guy in front of a customer. You always say, well, this guy's a good kid, and he made a mistake or whatever, but we'll take care of it. Yep. You always back up your employee, because they just won't trust you. That's how it comes from like the top down. Your employees won't trust you or your soldiers or whatever you're talking about in life if you are blaming them for the problems that, you as the manager probably could have helped avoid somehow.
Leaders have to be able to lead right off the bat. I mean, and not only that, but I mean, there's no bad teams, only bad leaders. And if your whole team is working horrible, like I'll even say there's a fast food joint very near me, and the manager is slow paced, doesn't do shit, and all the employees pretty much act just like her, and actually him too, because there's a couple of different managers at the place. And this place literally has nothing really happening at the spot. The other day when I was in there, had nothing happening.
We don't want to name names here, but like, is this the creepy mascot with the, let's just say, white round head with a cone on top?
It's Jack in the Box. Fuck it. It's Jack in the Box. See,
Jack in the Box.
There's a Jack in the Box right near me, and Grace wanted curly fries, and so I go in there and we ordered food, and next thing I know, there's like nobody in the store. There's like 2 cars in drive-through, and they took forever to get food out.
Yeah, I've never had that great of an experience at that location.
And they literally walk around, and like the guy almost like, I didn't even know what to do. I ordered a shake, and he handed me a large drink, or he handed me a large drink cup. And here's the thing, I've gotten so fed up with fast food places that I don't even correct them on my order, because then they get pissy, and then you're probably going to get something weird in your food.
Right.
So I thought he forgot to ring up my shake, and he just ordered it like with a large drink on the combo.
Right.
So I was going to take the cup, and then like I'm about to go and get something to drink out of the fountain, and he goes, "Oh, you're getting a shake." I went,
"You're lucky he caught it."
And I went, "Yeah, I'm getting a shake." And I handed him the cup back, like...
You waited for him to realize it?
Yeah, I waited for him to realize it, because these guys...
Now, in contrast, go to the Dairy Queen on Iowa Street.
Yep.
There's this Hispanic manager in there, this lady, who kicks ass. She's so good. And they pump out food so fast. It blows my mind. Both Dairy Queen locations in town are really good. But the one on... Iowa, she is kicking those college kids and high school kids' asses to move, and they are moving. Yeah. And I think that if anything they can improve on is maybe a little bit more smile.
Right.
Put a little more smile on it. But hey, I'm there for fast food. I'm not there for a smile, so I don't really care.
Yeah, one of my best experiences, and I worked fast food and I worked at a McDonald's. Best experience I had there, and I didn't even realize that it was happening, but in the McDonald's in Cloquet, Minnesota that I was working at, I was working the morning shift. We have a drink machine on there that when you order from the menu, and I plug it into the menu, it automatically pumps in large, medium, small, whatever your drink is.
Right.
It will drop the cup down. It'll run it on like a little rotator belt, and it will stop it at whatever the drink is, automatically fill the drink with ice, fill the drink with whatever you ordered.
Right. But
then sometimes it gets too sticky or whatever, and it stops functioning. So you got to clean it with hot water, and you got to make sure it's always clean. And so this morning that I got there, the night before, they did a shitty job of cleaning it. I had to fix it, work at it all morning, and finally got it to work. And then this guy comes in, and he's wearing a suit and tie, and he comes back behind the counter. And I thought maybe he was a manager from another store, but I didn't really think much of him. And I'd just gotten the machine to work, and it had pumped out a medium Diet Coke. And he comes in because you can also manually plug in what you want, and it'll drop down the cup and everything. And he manually plugged in a small Diet Coke. All of it comes through, and he comes walking back up, and he's not paying attention. And I'll tell you, like, I've run on no sleep. I just figured out how to get this machine working. I've been there for 2 hours trying to putz with this thing. And he comes in and he snags the medium Diet Coke that I needed for the order. And I turn around and said, "Hey, what in the hell are you doing? Put that down." I grabbed a straw, put a lid on his small Diet Coke, handed it to him and said, "This is yours, that's mine. Now move on, I got to get working done."
Yeah.
I didn't realize he was the district manager of like 8 fucking McDonald's in the area.
How'd that go over? I bet it went pretty well.
He went back with the GM, the general manager, the first assistant, and the second assistant, and went, "Who's the kid up front?" And they told him who I was, and he goes, "I like him. He's really cool." It was like, keep him around. So apparently, if you are in a work ethic mode, you can actually impress managers, even if you're a little rude to them.
Right.
You know, obviously I'm not saying be a bitch and be a dick to your manager, but I'm saying if you actually are like, "I'm moving, I'm working, I got to get this job done. The customer needs its food, needs its drink, whatever, and you're on top of it."
Right.
They appreciate that you care. And then the funny part was the second manager who hired me at McDonald's came back almost on the floor laughing and said, "You have no clue who you just told off, do you?" I went, "Nope, not a clue." "Who was it? Like some manager from another?" "That's the district manager. He's all of our bosses." I went, "Oh, I'm not fired, am I?" And she goes, "No, you're not fired. In fact, he loves you. Keep up the good work." I went, "Holy crap." But that you don't get that nowadays, especially with college students. No one gives a crap.
Right.
No one gives a crap. Everyone wants a hand. They all want $15 an hour, but they don't understand that everything's going to go up.
Right.
They also don't understand that their job could be replaced by a freaking robot in the next 5 years. I heard Wendy's, to combat the $15 an hour thing, is going all automated.
Really?
They're going to start going all automated.
Holy crap.
Yeah, they've had it. I said, "Screw you. We're not paying everyone $15 an hour.
I think they're gonna make a shit ton of money.
We're gonna spend like $80,000 a store, and we're gonna make all our money back in like no time.
Yep.
And not have to pay all your taxes and shit."
One person at the window taking orders, and one person making sure the equipment's running okay.
Probably. Yeah. They'll pay 3 people $15 an hour, not 20.
Right.
And be like, screw that. That's what our world is coming to, though. Everyone wants a damn handout. Everybody wants somebody to blame. And that's why I love the way I was raised. I mean, the way I was raised was to take responsibility. I remember Ken, a friend of ours named Ken, when someone broke anything on the farm, he was always like, "Who broke it?" And then everybody would be like, "It just broke." He was like, "Somebody had it in their hands. Somebody dropped it, or somebody did something to it.
Right.
It didn't just break. And if it broke with you, maybe it had a fracture beforehand or something in the casing of the chainsaw, but somebody damaged it before you did. Just because the blade fell off on your run doesn't necessarily mean you broke it, but it means someone did.
Right.
And didn't tell anyone about it." That was always the thing.
It's a good lesson.
It's a good lesson. If you broke it, just say you broke it. Because I had that this morning. I actually had that this morning when I was working, or yesterday morning. I went out, did a job, picked up my vacuum out of the barrel. I work as a janitor for a company. I picked up the vacuum out of the barrel. The extension cord caught in the barrel, and I dropped the vacuum, breaking the switch to turn it on and off. Like, destroyed the switch. Not repairable. Unless you buy a new switch.
Right.
And I was scared shitless of needing to call my boss, Adrian, and tell him I broke your $800 vacuum switch, which I know may cost $100. And I did it anyway. I called him and said, Adrian, please forgive me. I broke your vacuum. I dropped it on the ground. Right. You know what his response was to me? Huh. Oh, no big deal. No, nothing to lose your shit over, brother. That was exactly his response. And then I thought, well, I know if I get it into you today, he goes, nah, yeah, Tuesday or Wednesday. You know, like, he didn't even care.
Just face it, right?
It was like, I thought he was going to tear into me.
Right.
And all he did was just, like, tell me, it's all good.
Right.
So, owning up to your mistakes, literally just think of the worst thing that could happen to you and just face your fear and just get on with it.
Right.
You know? I mean, the worst thing they can do is just dock your pay or fire you.
Sure.
I mean, maybe that sounds like a world of hurt and a world of pain, but to me, it's not like that anymore, you know. But it's been fun. It's been enjoyable. And this was Luke. He's one of my friends, like I said before. Brought him on here to the podcast.
Keith, thanks for having me on.
Yeah.
I'm super excited that you're doing this, and so I was happy to be a part of it.
You have anything to plug?
Yeah, call Brite Window Service to have your window cleaning needs taken care of. I only do commercial, so don't call me if you're a homeowner. I won't do it. I will give you a reference for someone else, but yeah, give me a call, and we'll get your storefront done. And
within reason of the Bellingham area.
I'd also like to plug beer in general.
Beer in general?
Because beer deserves credit for...
What were you drinking? You were drinking a Mike's Hard.
Don't tell him that. That's just because I didn't like any of your choices.
He's drinking a Mike's whatever. I'm drinking a Cascade IPA from Sierra Nevada.
I know I live in Bellingham, and I should like IPAs because it's the Northwest, but I don't. I like brown ales, and I like lagers. And Keith didn't have either of those, so I drank Mike's Hard.
I seriously got the multi-pack of boxes. I thought he's not going to like IPA, but maybe he'll like something else.
Let me try that. Let me see what it is. He's got a Sierra Nevada single hop Cascade IPA, and it's not terrible. It's hoppier than I like. Hops are just the flavor of them. Just gets me weird.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I just
with a steak or a nice burger maybe, but on just account of a drinking beer, no.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to plug any. I guess hell yeah I will. Scotch ale at Boundary Bay is amazing.
Yeah.
And I also like Moose Drool, Newcastle, Brown Ale. Those are all great.
We have literally gone from movies into talking about fate and soulmates to talking about working.
That's what I was going to plug, and that's the only thing I could think of.
And he plugs his window washing company. What are you going to wash it with beer?
You started. I should put some beer in. It probably would help the cleaning process. I was trying to think of what I could plug, and the first thing that came to mind obviously was windows because you started with that, and then beer. Pizza. Oh, beer and pizza.
Beer and pizza.
They are the food of the gods.
Yep. So, and if you don't know, I posted on my Facebook page, I posted a link to not only the Rant Pod podcast page, but I also posted a link to the SoundCloud platform that this podcast is on. So if you're on Facebook and you're a friend of mine, or even if you're not and you want to just look up the Rant Pod, you just type it in, you'll be able to find it. And if you need to know where it is, here you go, www.soundcloud.com/rantpod, all lowercase, RANTPOD, and it'll bring you to all my tracks. You should be able to listen to whatever you want on there. And I am I'm trying to get at least one out a week, if not two. And I may do other ones here and there as I go. But thank you for following me. Thank you for liking my page. And thank you for all your comments and all your support. And Luke and I will catch you down the road.